So, all right. So we are now recording on Facebook, and I've got the recording for the future. So we are going to talk about sleep consulting. If you're on, please do ask any questions you have. I have a bunch of questions, but I'm waiting patiently for Jeanette, hoping that she got the link. So we'll see while we're waiting. We'll just see who's hopping on to listen in. This is the Monday musings where I have Tiki on here a lot of times. My friend Tiki, she's not able to join us today, which is fine. But we talk about all kinds of stuff related to postpartum doula-ing and how it ties into life and the work of a doula, and always tying it into that bigger picture of what's going on energetically. So everything that we do and we learn and we find out about, all having to do with how we present ourselves and how we show up and how we perceive what's happening with our clients. So that's what we're all about. And okay, and so Jeanette, I think she'll be hopping on momentarily because I have so many questions for her. And just so you guys know, I have not met Jeanette, but I put a word out in the group because I'm really open to having people from this group hop on. So if you have a topic you would love to share about, talk about, please let me know, because I'll have you hop on with me because it's so much more fun. And I'm going to try to bring on some other guests, but I prefer to have people from this group on with me, so we can share what we're all doing and we can share our knowledge and our wisdom. And that's what I love to do. So I know that, again, with sleep consulting, I know there's also sleep training, but I want to really clarify the differences and what the training is like for all that. And so I'm just waiting patiently for who's ever maybe watching, wondering what's going on here. We'll be starting momentarily, but please do let me know what your questions are, because I do really want to know about that as well. What questions you have about sleep for newborns, sleep for toddlers, what that looks like, what parents are wanting, what are parents doing, what are you seeing in your doula practice? Oop, got to cut that down on the phone. But I'm sure that you all have questions, so here we go. Yay, have some company. I love to blab, but it's sure more fun with someone else. Hey.
Hello. Hi, Betsy.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I was just telling everyone how, like, we've really never met, but
yeah.
But you said, hey, yeah, I'll do it. And so why not? I'm all about it. So
awesome. Thanks. You for letting me join.
Yeah, thanks for being like a last minute. Sometimes I'm just turning my volume up. Yeah. So why don't you tell everyone first, like what you do.
Okay.
Yeah, where you reside and that good stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So I live in San Diego. I married and I have 7 kids. My oldest is 23 and my youngest is 4. Ooh. And so I started off as a postpartum doula in 2020, and then quickly just sort of realized after starting to support families that there needed to be more support in lactation. So I got certified as a lactation educator. And then I also was getting a lot of questions about sleep from my clients, just sort of like at the end of our time together, they were hearing things like about the 4-month regression and things like that. And so they were trying to sort of pick my brain, before I moved on to another family. And so I also was working pretty much as many overnights as I possibly could, and realizing that I sort of wanted to, add some services that I could continue to grow my business. Okay. But obviously when you're just one person, there's only so many nights a week, and I also have my own family. So I got certified as a pediatric sleep consultant. So I've been doing mostly virtual, but a little bit of in-person support with that. And yeah, it's been really great for my business. Actually, I really like to market myself as a postpartum doula, that they are getting like kind of like newborn sleep shaping when they hire me.
Yeah.
So they won't even really need to do sleep training down the road.
Well, yeah. So, okay. So I have so many questions because I
Sure.
have to tell you that I'm very, I don't know if skeptical is the right word, but
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit, I guess, because I'm old school, right? And I'm, it's such a new, kind of new thing. I mean, it's been around, but now it's exploding, and everybody's
Right.
saying, hey, add this to your postpartum doula repertoire, be a sleep consultant, sleep trainer. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of back it up and just pick your brain, really.
Sure.
So what I would love to know, like with your pediatric sleep consulting, what are parents looking for from you? What do they need? And with that, like the training, like I've heard different things, and I know there's a lot of different trainings, just like a postpartum doula.
Right.
No one size fits all. And I always say, know your trainer, know the philosophy, know who you're learning from, and all of that. So in my mind, when we're talking newborn, say birth to 3 months is kind of my newborn stage, right? Give or take,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right. Okay. So what does that look like in terms of consulting, and what's appropriate for the newborn? That's what I'd
Look
like
at
to
it
see.
more as I look at it more, and I explain to my clients, it's more sleep shaping, not sleep training. I feel there is a difference.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and also coming into it as with the lactation education that I have, I support, the breastfeeding relationship first and foremost. And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I like to set realistic expectations with my clients for sleep, for what's age appropriate, and to let them know, like, it's normal if your 4 month old or your 5 month old or your 6 month old is still waking in the middle of the night for feeding. And I like
Yeah.
to
Okay.
explain to them, sort of the benefits of their breast milk at night. And, and
Yeah.
I just let them know that, yes, we can get to a place where maybe you're not waking up every 2 hours still to feed your baby
Yeah. It's
at
6
that age.
months. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Correct.
But that, it's okay to still have a night feeding going on, and that we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for something that they are, they're satisfied with, they're feeling like they're getting the rest that they need, and their baby is as well. So I would say for the newborn side of it, it's just really things that I think a lot of postpartum doulas already are showing families, like,
Yeah.
the 5 S's, of course.
Right.
And
Right.
um, and just, I encourage my clients to really give the baby opportunities throughout the day, whether it's once or twice, um, to where they're putting them down after they've been fed and burped and they're comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
to learn that sensation of falling asleep on their own without being rocked or fed or bounced or walked around to be put to sleep, just to give them that exposure to that feeling. And I had a family not too long ago. I started with them immediately after they got home from the hospital, and I was there 4 nights a week. And they really, sleep was a huge thing that they were really terrified of before becoming parents. They just were,
Okay.
they felt like they both were people that had really high, sleep needs, and the husband had a very like demanding job. And they expressed that to me when I met them, before they had the baby, that they were worried about the sleep deprivation part of
Oh,
becoming new parents. And
oh, yeah.
so when I was there, I just did basic things like that with the baby, as far as feeding her, burping her, and
And they
then
weren't nursed. I mean, she wasn't nursing. She wasn't breastfeeding.
she was breastfeeding, but she
Okay.
was pumping, so
Okay.
that
Okay.
in the beginning she was breastfeeding, and then I would do maybe 1 bottle a night, and then eventually by the time baby was about 6 weeks, I was doing just bottles at night. And she was still pumping during the day, but the baby at 7 weeks old started sleeping through the night. And
there was no like let her cry and all that kind of like,
no. And
like, that just hurts my heart. I gotta just say, like, I'm hearing you more, hey, yeah, I'm gonna see where the parents are at, what kind of baby this is, like,
yes.
Okay, sleep deprivation is pretty much across the board. Like, you're not going to get the sleep you had. I mean, I think that parents need to kind of realize that too.
They need to know those expectations. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, hold on. Yeah,
and
I think I need a new. Anyway, camera keeps going in and out. But go ahead. Yeah,
I like to tell my clients too. I became a doula and a sleep consultant after all of my babies were born. I had 7 newborns. I never did cry it out with any of mine. So I wouldn't expect my clients to, I wouldn't,
it's not something,
as a mom, like I never did that with my own kids. And so I get it as a mom, I've never had, I mean, I know some sleep consultants that have clients that come to them and they've actually tried cry it out. And then they're, still needing support because things are not working well. Or I know sleep consultants that in some cases they will recommend that method. I never have, and I probably never will. Just because it's not, it goes,
I know it's against your whole, like everything. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because, I mean, what it shows me, or what it tells me, and whoever's listening, is the fact that there are different trainers, consultants, whatever, that all have different philosophies. Because, I was on one group where there was a discussion about recommendations about sleep or something. And first of all, my come from is we don't really give advice regardless. It's kind of like, what do you need from me? Let me help you, right? Let me guide you. But
exactly.
I think, who am I to say what you should do? Like, I don't know. I really, we want, right? Because we do want the parents to be their own experts. That's, that's my come from.
Find their own confidence.
Find their own way with it. But hey, have you tried this, this, and this? I've had, these clients have tried A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Which one do you want to try first? I mean, that kind of thing, right? Like, here's the menu.
Right.
But in this case, like, there was a response from several people that like, they won't work with families that are bed sharing because that's unsafe and it's liability, and they have to be, separate in their own crib. And it's, to me, it's like, I can't, like, if, I mean, I don't get it. I don't even, and I don't even get, as a doula, giving advice either.
To be honest, I've actually had quite a few families that have come to me, and these are ones that I didn't work with as their postpartum doula. They're coming to me just for the sleep training, to hire me as a consultant. But a lot of them have come to me where they're in a situation where they weren't planning to bed share, and then all of a sudden they found themselves at 6 months, bed sharing, but they want to change it. And a lot of times they feel they're very hesitant to even, divulge that information, because I think they're afraid they're going to get judgment. And so I like to tell them right off the bat, look, I've been there, yes. And so, and, I know, yes, there are risks, and parents should be aware of that. But I don't believe in turning a family away or telling them, well, if I'm going to work with you, you immediately need to stop that. I'm there to tell them, like, it's been working for you, but now that it's not, let me help you find another way,
I like that. I like that approach.
I just think they're already putting that guilt on themselves. If it's something they're not comfortable with, or they weren't planning to, they don't need someone else, and especially a professional, making them feel even worse about their situation. They need support. And that's the way I approach it. I don't know, I can't speak for other
Yeah.
consultants, and I know what you're talking about. I've seen
Yeah.
that
I
for
don't,
sure a ton, where people,
yeah.
say, oh, well, I don't work with families that share.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I won't work with families that are formula feeding. I mean, if that's their choice, like what do they, what do they still need? A lot. They need a lot of
Mhm,
support. But if you can't without judging, then sure, hand it to the other
mhm.
doula or the other consultant. That,
Sure.
but it, to me, it's we do have to meet families where they're at. And we have to meet
Yeah.
babies where they're at and what's
Yeah.
developmentally appropriate as well.
Exactly. I
Um,
agree.
and hi, Makara, thanks for joining us.
I
Wasn't ignoring you. We were just, in the middle of that conversation. So yeah, thanks for being here. If you have a question, shoot it out about sleep. But, I can't reiterate that I've been very hesitant to really just talk about it and not talk about it, but, I'm not a promoter of the whole sleep training, but
Mhm,
now this is different where I can remember with my second one, my first one, not in the bed, got certain, advice, didn't know anything.
mhm.
Had my second one, none of that's going to happen. Like everything's going to be opposite. And so, okay, we'll hear about that training in a minute, Makar. But in fact, so I mean, he was in the bed and then out of the bed and trying and for like a really long time. I just want to
Mhm.
say. So we tried different things. I remember one time, like he was about 15 months old, and I'm like, I'm just gonna put him for a nap and let him, cry a little bit because like
Mhm.
15 months. Well, he did, and it was actually, I mean, a while. I can't tell you how long, but I was sitting like
Mhm.
right outside the room, practically
Mhm.
crying myself. I'm thinking, what am I doing? Well,
Yeah.
he climbed out of that crib, man. I mean, he was determined, so he was climbing out of that crib quick, And so I'm going, okay, well, that is not going to work. But I
Mhm.
did try different things, and he was in and out of my bed, and I now have my grandson who's 4, and
Aw,
he's
my youngest is 4 too.
yeah, he's so cute. And like, I don't mind, like, I just lay with him to go to sleep and he's asleep in like 10 minutes.
Mhm.
But, they do sleep with him. And, I'm not opposed to it. I think, I remember for myself just being so frustrated. Like, so I did want, like, hey, I could have used you to say, hey, okay, I'm going to help you
Yes.
try these things instead of pulling your hair out and like, okay, come on, the kid's 7 now. Like, I'm not going to lie. So, we even tried putting like he was next to the bed, which was fine, in an air mattress, right? I think or something. And we even tried like, well, let's just take the mattress away and put him on the floor, and wood floor. Maybe he won't like
Right.
it. No, he liked it. He stayed.
Yeah.
So hey, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the sleep
Yeah.
guy. But you do what you do with what you know,
Exactly.
or what
Yeah.
you feel, is that.
My first was a fantastic sleeper, and I can't, give myself and my husband the credit for it.
Yeah.
That's just the
Yeah.
type of baby she was. She was
Right.
sleeping through the night at like 8 or 10 weeks old. And then my second came along and was waking up, to breastfeed like on the dot every 2 hours until he was probably 8 months old. And it was because, I mean, I know now it was
Yeah.
because I was always feeding him to sleep because I had a 2-year old
Just like
and I needed one arm and I needed him to just be happy. And so I was constantly, just
yeah.
feeding him on demand, nursing him. And that was
Yeah.
the only way he knew how to fall asleep. But I also now having the background with the sleep education, I
Yeah.
see that, and for some families that works absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of my approach. Like I think because it's a secondary part of my business, it's not my main business source. I'm
Mhm.
not pushing sleep
Yeah.
training as much as
Yeah.
maybe some other consultants do. I don't feel
Right.
like it's right for every family and every situation, but
Mhm.
I want to be there to help the ones that do want help. And so I look at it as I always tell my clients, if something's working for you, like don't feel shame behind it or keep
Yeah.
doing it. If it's
Yeah.
not working for you
Yeah.
anymore, then I want to help you find a way out of it and look
Uh-huh.
for other ways. And I share my experiences too with my own babies, how
Yeah.
like my second one, that that was the only way he knew how to get back to sleep. And it got to a point where I was exhausted. I was frustrated because I knew he wasn't hungry. I
Yeah.
knew it was just like this habit that we had created,
Right.
but I didn't know all the things that I know now about, trying during the day to put him down when he was calm, but still awake.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
just want to help,
Mm-hmm.
new parents that don't know that stuff either. And it's not, I don't want to encourage them to not snuggle their baby while they're sleeping when they're newborns, because I think that stuff is so wonderful too.
Yeah.
But I just want to give them the information that, these are the things that you can do that will lead to your baby sleeping better,
Right.
but
And then you sleeping better, because the thing is, I always tell my
yes,
trainees, that come to me for postpartum doula training, how are these people going to get the most sleep? Whatever that is for them. It could be
yes.
musical beds. It could be so many things.
Mhm.
Okay, Makara, you have some stuff in the chat here. Let me just see. Oh, okay. First experience not a pleasant with your son. So you tried the training, I'm guessing. Then work as a nanny turned me off from, sleep training. I'm glad to hear the methods. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the whole thing. I mean, in beginning, of my career and early, I think with my son, of course, my first one was born in 89. So then, I mean, actually he slept on his stomach. I mean,
Yeah.
Whatever. He's alive today. I know, I'm just saying. But yeah, the things were different, right? And so there wasn't, and I don't, of course, there wasn't the sleep training, sleep consulting, but people would just give you, different tips and, oh, I tried this. If you tried this, do that, But the
Mhm.
thing is, like, like, if it goes against, like, if your heart is like hurting and it's going against you, and I mean, I did a couple of those things. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit, and it was what it was, at the time. But then you say, wow, no, I don't want to do that, or I don't want other people to do that, right?
Mhm.
Because you want to be feeling aligned with what you're doing.
Right.
All and I mean, as a parent, we, hey, things, I mean, you have 7, I only have 2, but the same, they're both different. That's what works for one isn't going to work for, maybe for the next one, right?
Mhm.
And there's all of that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But Kara also has a younger, how old is your little one?
I have a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
And then a 4. So we all have 4-year-olds. Mine's my grandson, so it's a little different, but it's funny.
That's cool.
Yeah. But most part, well, I shouldn't say this either, but so my focus, I guess, when I work with people and share with people, is that for postpartum doulas specifically, when it comes to sleep, I think it's great that, we have people like you, Jeanette, that are much more open and kind of following the lead of the parents and the baby versus some of this other stuff that's out there, honestly, because it's kind of scary to me, some of the things that are out there. And, the fact that, oh yeah, like you can make all this money. Okay, great. Like, have at it. But, please be sharing appropriate information. And also, I'm such a fan of, who is this client? Who, what is their whole sort of situation like, their lifestyle, and not just, oh, this is how you,
it's not one size fits
2
all.
months old,
Exactly.
kind of thing. So for postpartum doulas specifically, in my mind, still, it's those first 3 months that I think really count the most. I mean, as far as the support and the guidance, and because that's when just everybody's just getting off to that start.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
So I think whatever we can do in that time frame is probably ideal.
Yes.
As far as that goes. But then I see, obviously, if later on this wasn't done, that wasn't done, help. I don't want to do this.
I'm actually with a family right now. I started off doing overnight support with them, and for about 11 weeks. So baby, she's waking she's almost 4 months now, but she's, only waking once or twice for a feed in the middle of the night. She goes right back to sleep. Parents feel like, okay, we made it over that, the difficult stage, and things are getting easier, especially for the nights. But during the daytime, mom reached back out to me because they were really struggling with naps, and just, she's got a 2-year-old son as well. And and she's home, with the two of them. And she just felt like, I'm in the nursery, in this dark nursery, spending so much time during the day because she's only taking these short naps. And then mom was going in and trying to kind of save the nap and sit with her so that baby would get this, a little more sleep. Because then if the nap was short and she just, took her out, she was kind of a disaster all day. Because she wasn't getting enough sleep. So anyway, she had me come back in. She hired me for, like sleep training now that she's 4 months old. And I just started back with them this past week. And, so there's that too, where even if they have a postpartum doula, that's giving them like the guidance and the shaping for nighttime or during the daytime. And helping them get through that difficult first 3 or 4 months. There still can be, because babies make that transition with their sleep at 4 months. And so it's like, they feel like, oh my gosh, we just got through that. And then now everything's changed again. So, and I like being able to have them get to work with the same person. They've already established like a trust and stuff like that with me. And the baby's familiar with me. So it's an easy, kind of like transition. And it's getting better. I did 3 days with them this past week. And the third day, it was like each day the nap got a little bit longer, or she went down a little bit easier. Because I could see it with mom during the day. The first day I got there, she's really struggling because and I did make some suggestions too, like, you can wear her, for naps at this age still. And, you don't necessarily, the nap doesn't necessarily have to just be in the crib.
Right.
Like, it's okay to do that. And that way you still have your hands free to do things around the house or with your son, and the baby will nap, and she didn't really do much of that with her 2-year-old. And so I've worked with her, kind of like put on her carrier, had her try it. I told her, to try it over the weekend, and her husband as well, so that he can help out too. So I'm anxious to, when I go back tomorrow, to see, how that is working for them. But I think, just giving them that permission too, because I think for new parents right now, sleep training is such a big thing that they're hearing about, that she already was thinking like, oh my gosh, like these naps have to happen in the day or it's going to ruin the progress we've made at night. And I'm like, no, it's okay to wear her.
I know.
So.
It's like, it's just in this day and age with so much information available, sometimes it's just really detrimental, because I think, like you said, so parents think they got to do it this way, or like they have to buy the pump, when it's like, you don't need a pump unless you need a pump. Like it doesn't have to be on the list for before you even have the baby. Like it's a similar thing where they think they got to do all these things and they got to do it this way. And I think in different, areas too, it could be different, right? Geographically speaking, like in your area, like I'm sure it's super busy, a lot of doulas. I mean, it's busy area. I live more rural Florida. It's, there's not a lot going on here. So it's different, in terms
it's very busy. And yes, people, I feel like families, it's like have the baby and then get back to this go lifestyle. And so sleep is such a, big thing, or they hear the negative stories from their friends or their families about their, experiences with sleep. And so I tried, like, my philosophy is just like, you don't just get back to life. Your life is forever changed when you have a baby.
I know. It's like, sometimes I just think those expectations, which you mentioned in the very beginning, they're just so unrealistic, not just about sleep, but all of it.
All of
But
it,
sleep, of
exactly.
course, is such a big piece because, yeah, sleep deprivation, when it's really bad, it can be severe and it can lead to mental problems. I mean, you can
Right.
start losing it big time,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so sleep is really, really important. But I think reiterating what's normal for a newborn,
Yes.
but
Yes.
also, again, what lifestyle the parents have and what expectations that they've set, and then to help them maybe drop the bar a bit. You know, like if
Yes.
you get 4 hours in a row, man, that is amazing.
I say that all the time. If
Right?
yeah, you're doing
Ooh,
great, you know.
yeah, like wow, who
Yeah.
wouldn't want that with a little
Mhm.
baby, right?
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's funny. And then you know, like me, you get older and then you're like, man, why I gotta pee so much during the night? Like, you know, reminds me when I had a baby, I had to get up so much. But it's like every stage is different with the
Mhm.
baby, you know, and the
Mhm.
ages and stages, and with sleep too, you know,
Yeah.
everything. And when they have, you know, I know, and I don't know if you get into this at all too, but you mentioned at the 4-month mark, but and developmentally when babies when they start learning new things, like as they're
Mhm.
just so excited and
Yes.
they're right, there's a lot with that too.
Mhm.
Sleep.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what's been happening with this particular family because, you know, the baby is making that transition from being this sleepy newborn to now she's much more alert and she's aware. So when mom's taking her into the dark nursery for the nap, she knows like I'm missing out on all this
Yeah,
amazing stuff out there,
exactly.
and she's smart, you know, so she's fighting it, she's resisting it. So and that was I explained that to mom too. And I said, you know, that's why wearing her because she's still with you. She's still in the mix, but you know, she'll be able to get that sleep in and still feel, you know, close to you and a part of whatever's going on out here. And maybe she won't, you know, resist napping as much.
Yeah,
But yeah, I agree. I think the expectations, I think that is something we can do as doulas is to let families know, you know, it's not going to be like you're going back to the life you had before. It's
right.
you know,
Yeah,
you've added a new life to your family and things are going to change and this is, you know, how what to expect. So,
yeah, this is reality. I know. I know. Just so what, McCare, we had to train our babies so our lives would go back to normal. Yeah, but right, it's like a new. I don't even like the word new normal, but it's like you're creating a new life. I mean, a different life and
mhm.
incorporating, like, you know, that newborn into the family somehow without like everybody getting kind of off their whatever, off their track. Um,
Right.
I just want to, okay, so Nolene, who's in, hello, Nolene. She was a student of mine, but she does sleep consulting. So she says consistency is key. Babies wake at 40 minutes. They're shifting from REM into deep sleep, right? It's important to bridge the nap to a minimum of an hour. You'll have to explain that. Usually in my experience, baby will sleep longer after you get them through the 40 minutes transition. 4 months, baby's circadian rhythm, right? Well, that's that 4-month mark, right?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
developing. Okay, so she's certified through CISC. I'm not sure what group that is. 6 hours is considered through the night. Yeah, yeah, I remember being at about 5. Yeah, so 5 to 6, which is like amazing.
Mhm.
Um, but she does say feed to sleep. Well, yeah, I mean, when they're really, you know, babies, like, yeah, I mean, you know, it's just that if it's, I think what you said is if it, you know, continues for a long period, like 6 months, and the parents or moms particularly is getting frustrated and doesn't really want to do that anymore, it's probably not detrimental to try to do some gentle way to switch it up. I think that's
Yeah.
probably the key too. Oh yeah, regression. You called that a regression before.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
just reading Nolene's. Um, so I think that's an important thing just to say is that it's not that you're, I mean, okay, you're breaking a habit because it does become maybe a habit at a certain point, you know, after that
Right.
newborn stage. But it's transitioning to something else very gently,
Hmm.
you know, without really rocking that kid's world, you know, to
Right.
make them like cry for, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, you know.
And
Stuff.
I think for some parents, they have that fear of, you know, well, if there's going to, because I explained to them there will be some crying involved because that's how babies express their, you know,
Yeah,
their emotions at this point. Um, but that also we're educating them on listening to those cries and
yeah,
understanding the cries, because I also think it's important for them. Some new parents, they hear their baby cry, even newborns, or they hear the baby stirring and they go, oh my gosh, she's awake, and they immediately go to, you know, oh, the baby's awake, take them out, and like educating them that, well, newborns are really noisy sleepers, and they,
yeah.
you know, they might sound like they're waking up, but they're
Mhm.
not. So pause, you know, practice that pause before you go in. But and same thing when they are working with an older baby doing sleep training, is that yes, there's going to be some crying, but listen to the cry. And is it like they're losing, you know, losing control and just
Yeah,
really need to
stressed.
be
Yeah,
exactly? Or is it more of like, I'm trying, you know, I'm trying to get to sleep, but I'm having a hard time. Like
yeah.
my third baby, he spent time in the NICU because he was a preemie, and he was my only one of all seven of my kids from, I would say, about 4 months old, maybe 5 months old. He did not like to be held. When he was tired, we
Mm,
had to put him in the crib because he
was
didn't want to
used.
be held. He didn't
Yeah.
want, you know, to be rocked or walked around or any of that.
Mm,
He would get in there and he would just sort of like wiggle around, and he'd fuss a tiny bit, and then he would fall asleep. And it was like, it took us a little while as parents to realize that, because, you know, we were used to, with my second one, we had to do all the
yeah.
bouncing and the
Jiggle,
walking,
oh God.
you
Yeah,
know,
I
all
remember
of
that.
that.
Yeah.
Right. And then be so careful of transferring
Yeah,
him.
don't wake him up. That was
Yeah.
my
And with
second
my,
one too.
you know, and then my third one, it was like, oh, well, and my husband was the one that had to do it, because, you know, he would just like fuss and be so, he seemed so uncomfortable when we would be holding him sometimes. And so we started doing that, and it worked beautifully for him. And so I just want parents to learn their baby. You know, I think that's
Right,
so important, is that
right.
you pick up on those cues. You know, they are each so individual and so
Mhm,
different. And
mhm.
I think that's the most important thing with sleep training as well, is that you're giving them the tools to be able to recognize when their baby is tired, you know. And
Right.
I tell them, yes, wake windows are great to go off of for certain ages, but it's not, you know, one size fits all. Not
Yeah,
every 6 month old is going to need, you know, a 2.5 hour wake window, like some, or whatever it is. Some are going to have higher and some are going to have lower sleep needs. And I want them to feel empowered to know their baby and what works for their baby.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so that's what I try and help them with.
Yeah, I like that. And Nolene's saying, yeah, right on point. And it's so true because, you know, as postpartum doulas, that's always my thing. Let's be the guide. Let's help the parents find that, because there's going to be so many big decisions and choices to make
Hmm.
with the baby and as the baby grows, and to trust themselves with
Yes.
decisions. But
Yes.
okay, you have someone that knows, you know, a little more, that can, you know, be that guide. But with,
Yes.
you know, but with recognizing your own baby's cues, that's so important. The crying in the beginning, to know what each one kind of means. But
Hmm.
that's being willing to tune out, you know, tune out.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
only looking here because, you know, if there's comments, I don't want to be rude, but seriously, there's so much distraction.
Hmm.
And you probably see this too. I mean, people like breastfeeding with the phone, you know, right
Hmm.
there, and like everything they're doing, it's not a
They're
full
always multitasking.
present. Yeah, because really being fully present will help you get to know that baby very quickly.
And I honestly have seen that with some parents where they come to you and they're just like, we can't do this anymore. Or, you know, my husband is sleeping in another room and we've got the baby in bed with us, and you know, he's unhappy about this arrangement because he wants to sleep in the same bed as me. And you know, and they had actually an 11-month-old, and they were just like, mom was sleeping, I think, in the nursery, like on a mattress on the floor, because the baby was still waking to breastfeed multiple times. And she knew, you know, he's not hungry. He's almost a year old, but they had tried some things on their own. And just for them to, like you said, tune out, because she was trying, like she had tried a few times to put him in his crib, but then she was going and doing other things, and then she'd hear him cry and she'd just go in and get him and nurse him or whatever. But when we started working together with the sleep training, we worked on, you know, they would FaceTime me listening to his crying, and I would sort of like let them hear the difference in that cry, you know, where, oh, he's trying to get to sleep, you know, he's trying, he's not like, it's not a level 10 cry,
like,
you know?
Like,
and after 3 days of that, they realized, like, they were tuning more into that, and sort of, they felt, that was one of the things they said to me at the end of our time together. They said, we feel like we were more in tune with him during this time, and his crying, rather than just, oh, he's crying, like, go get him, go feed him, go get him out of the crib, whatever, like listening, because there were actually a few times where they waited, they paused a little bit, and then he was able to get to sleep on his own. Whereas I explained to them too, you know, if a baby's hungry, they're not just gonna typically just fall asleep, you know, they're gonna continue crying until that need gets met. And so this particular family, they were responding just about every time with, oh, he's hungry, or he needs to be nursed. And so just like for them to be thinking of it that way, that, you know, he's changed, you fed him, you know, before bedtime, like those needs are met, the room is the right temperature, those things, just being more in tune to that and his needs, they felt like that made them more aware. So I think that was good.
Yeah, I like that. Makira, anything else? Do you have a question or anything that you want to say? I don't mean to be, I'm paying attention. I didn't say anything in the chat, but I just want to see if you had any other.
No, I'm good. I like that there's someone who is able to say that there are other methods, and that you're very in tune to what parents are doing and what they need, as opposed to my pediatrician who sat us down at my first doctor's visit with my son and announced, oh, this child does not run the house. He's to fit in. You're to train him as soon as possible so your lives can get back to normal. And I, despite my instinct that first night, put him in his crib and listened to him cry bloody murder. And he cried for an hour, and I cried. And his dad was like, oh, well, maybe he'll stop soon. An hour and a half in, I'm like, he's red in the face. He's hysterical. This is not going to work. We tried a second night, and I'm like, nope. And then he turned out to have colic. So the connection I made was, he was also colicky in the afternoon, and I also didn't have 100% smooth pregnancy. So it created anxiety. So he had anxiety. As a 17-year-old, he still has anxiety. So I had to link all these things together. So he didn't sleep through the night till he was about 2. And I left it that way. He got up to nurse twice a night. Sometimes he just wanted to snuggle. And I'm like, well, if he has anxiety, or if he's anxious and not feeling safe in the world, I'm not going to force sleep training on him. And the pediatrician was like, every visit, is he sleeping through the night? What are you doing? How are you handling it? And it was stressing me out. I'm like,
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
Oh,
sleeping. I'm sleeping. Bottom line, I'm sleeping. I'm
Mhm.
fine. Like, as long as
Yeah.
I'm good, he's good.
Yeah, good for you too, for
yeah.
like maybe the first night you didn't follow that instinct, but the second night you did, and you gave him what he needed from you. And it wasn't torturing you, because I mean, I would never want to suggest that to parents. Even when I start with a family, that there's a lot of times one parent that is a little more comfortable with some crying, and then sometimes you get one that's just like, I can't handle
Yeah.
hearing any crying. And so I will tell them, there's definitely ways we can go about it where there's minimal to no crying. It's just going to take longer, and if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's more what they want. You have some that are just like, we would like this as soon as to happen as soon as possible, so which method will that be? But I tell them, if we're doing like the controlled checks, you can decide what amount of time in between those checks you're comfortable letting some crying happen. And if that's 2 minutes, then do 2 minutes to start with. I mean, but then at the same time, for some babies, that is more disruptive to them, to have mom come in or dad come in, 2 minutes and like pat them and shush them and then leave. And then 2 minutes later, come back in. So I try and give them that information as well, that you have to be comfortable and confident with whichever method we end up going with, because like the other person that's commenting said, the consistency
Right.
is what's going to give your baby and you the best chance of this working well. And and that you have to be confident implementing, because if you're doing it halfway, it's not fair to your baby. It sends mixed messages and it's confusing to them. So
Yeah.
um
So yeah, so that's important, because I mean, you're helping them, but you don't want them to rely on you for like this extended, period of time, because it's important that they know what to do, how to do it, and feel, like you said, comfortable and confident doing it.
mhm.
Also, I'd love you to clarify. So at what age, I mean, developmentally speaking, for babies, would that be appropriate? Like definitely I know not the first several months of life. But I think you said something like six. I know like at 6 months, from my understanding of things I've learned over the years, is that that's about the time, not only are they sitting up and maybe, eating solids, but also realizing more that they're a separate being from their mother,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because at first, babies have no clue, really. They're just like, if you put them over there alone, they're just like, where's my mother? Where's my
Yeah.
mom, right? Because
Yeah.
we are mammals and we're carrying mammals. We forget that that's what babies really need. And of course, I know in our culture, in our society, it doesn't exist as much as I would like it to. But so at what is it about 6 months ish
Yeah,
where it's
that
comfortable?
6 months I would say is my favorite age with babies for sleep training. Just in my experience, the families I've worked with around that age, they do really, really well.
Mhm.
And I think there are some before that you can do it sooner. A lot of it depends to how they're feeding during the day, how their weight is, whether or not they still are having any digestive issues. There's so much that you kind of have to consider when they're younger than that. But like I said, I've worked with a family where the baby was sleeping through the night at 7, almost 8 weeks old. She just was getting those calories in during the day, and at
Yeah,
night she had no need to wake up.
yeah,
So, or if she did, she'd wake up and she was able to fall back asleep independently. She didn't need, you know, any kind of intervention or assistance. So, and that's
mhm,
another thing that I think that's important for parents to know, is that even with sleep training, you're not getting the baby to sleep through the night and not wake up, because as humans,
yeah,
we wake up.
Yeah.
It's the difference though is them having the tools to be able to fall back asleep independently.
Right.
And most of the time, if they're waking up, they're going to look to whatever got them to sleep. And we always use the comparison of, you know, if you fall asleep on the couch, you know, and then you wake up in your bathtub, you're like, what the heck happened here?
Wait a minute. That must have been some night.
Right. And then you're really awake, you're trying to figure it out. And it's, you know, you kind of think of that for babies. If they fall asleep and you were feeding them or you were rocking them, and then they're waking up in the middle of that cycle and they're now all of a sudden in their crib or their bassinet. If they're not able to get back to sleep on their own, they're going to start crying out for how they were put to sleep. So,
that's true. Yeah, because that makes a lot of sense. I was supposed to say, Nolene's been really commenting on here. She, let's see, what did she say? Don't rock baby to sleep, right? Healthy habits, from the beginning. Well, I don't know about night number 1, depending on the age of the baby, I guess I would have to know that. But yeah, and then, okay, Nolene, my son came into my bed 2 a.m. every night, was his comfort, single mom, worked for you. Yeah, absolutely. Like that was okay. I think that that's important, you know, that if it, like you said, if it works for you, it's fine. But when it doesn't, and if you're frustrated and then there's this like resentment and, you know, okay, I don't know. I think I have to get I have a Logitech camera and the last several lives, it's just been kind of cutting in and out. It's not my internet connection. So I think I might need a new camera. So, cause I just keep, but yeah, I think that's, it's been really great to hear everything you're sharing. A lot of stuff I, know about, but in terms of just because there's so much out there with this sleep thing, and it is a really big business right now. It's a whole new industry. Like doula was never an industry. Now it's the doula industry, which is like,
right.
I don't know. It's like there's the mixed messages or the mixed feelings, but because really it all is, I believe, still very heart-centered, like that when we're coming from our heart space, it just makes the biggest difference. And recognizing that heart space in other people that we're working with, where, just knowing that, this is not my baby, but I do want the best for these people. And what does that look like? And also keeping in mind the baby, because I'm, sometimes when I think about how birth happens in this country and, the broken system that we're all working in, right, my heart like goes out to the baby. So I just always want, everyone to keep the baby in mind as well as their clients. Yes, clients are paying us, but we can always be the reminder, about what's normal developmentally, for the most part, for babies, even though, yes, every situation is unique. So, Nolene wants to clarify, what I mean by implementing healthy sleep habits is that I put the baby down awake. Oh, yes. And if they cry, use latch method, hold to settle. They learn to self-soothe. Yeah. Yeah, that's what Jeanette was saying that earlier. And what she was saying is like maybe during the day, to lay the baby down, when they're awake. And so that you're not like half asleep, sleep deprived, whatever, so that you can just kind of see and even observe what they do, and what they sound like. So yeah, I think that's a good idea for sure. Because I think babies very quickly learn too. Oh, shades are down, it's dark, it's, this is different than, what happens in the day with the 2-year-old running around and lights on the TV. And, there's a very different mood and mode and energy. I'm all about the energy, right? It's just like the energetics are different. And if mom's energy is very like flustered and, like, it's going to be really hard to calm a baby. Right. So all of those things being in place is going to make it much smoother.
Very true.
Yeah. So, wow. Awesome. All right, so, wow, I can't believe we've been on here for about an hour. This went by fast. Right. Any other questions from you, Makara? Comments? Nolene, thank you for all your comments on Facebook here. I'm sure that we'll have some people watching, later. Everybody's so busy, busy, busy. Yeah, Makara, watching.
Oh, that's my 4-year-old in the background. But no, it was great. I just love knowing that when I see sleep training now, I don't have to balk at it and be like, oh my God, they let the baby cry until they're like, no. So now I could be more open to it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I think like anything too, that whatever program you go through, still it's, how are you going to practice? What does your practice look like? What is your philosophy like? I mean, having 7 children does give you quite a bit of experience with so many, different things going on with each one. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then having the training on top, but regardless, wherever you do your training, who's ever, postpartum doula out there, it's really going to be then you take all those pieces and what's going to feel right to you to go ahead and present to your community. What kind of a doula are you? And if you do offer the sleep consulting or the sleep training, clarify what that is. And if your training tells you that you can't work with families that, bed share, and that's what they want to do, why don't you pass that to another doula versus, I can't work, it's a liability, and kind of that shame thing, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I think that we forget that too, that if you're in a community where there are other doulas and you're really not the right fit, maybe you could suggest someone that is, versus, because I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. A lot of tea flavors out there,
Right. Yeah. So. And that's the thing, is when they're already, I believe it takes a lot of courage and bravery to say, I need help, especially as a mom. Sometimes it's not our first instinct is to admit that. And so they're already taking that step. And the last thing they need is for someone to, shun them or say, I can't help you. It's, we want to change that, that narrative for parents and for moms, especially, that it's okay to ask for help and accept help. And so you're not going to do that if you're that person that's telling them, well, because you do this, I won't work with you, or I won't support you how you need to. It's like you said, you can very tactfully, tell a family oh, this is outside of, the way that I do things, but I would love to help find you someone that can, that is more experienced with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, 100% with that. So I hope that happens more. Okay, before we close, I want to ask you both, do you mind, if this is a really good discussion, that if I put this on my my doula quest, I have these guest kind of interview bonus stuff, just because I think I'll share it with my students. I think they would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. So I'm going to stop. Let's see. Oh no, you know what? Let's see.